With the situation between India and Pakistan developing very quickly and tensions really being ratcheted up by either side, there's a great sense of concern, not just here in the subcontinent, but across the world on what may happen next. Joining us now, Bob Blackman, a British MP. Thank you very much, sir, for being with us. If you go through the latest series of announcements which have been made just a couple of hours back, all Pakistani nationals in India have been told to go back, and India has asked all Indian nationals who may be in Pakistan to return as well. Where do you think this is now headed?
Well, clearly, my first thoughts, obviously, are condolences for the victims and their families who suffered this terrible terrorist atrocity. I think the first thing, obviously, is to identify and bring to justice the perpetrators. Once that happens, then it can be quite clear who exactly is responsible for this atrocity. Now, what we're hearing, and I raised this issue in the UK Parliament this morning, we're hearing that it is the terrorist group Lashkar-e-Taiba, who are, of course, a Pakistani-sponsored terrorist group. And the reality is that if it is them, then clearly whatever action that India chooses to take against that terrorist group, I think we in the United Kingdom should strongly support. We cannot have this terrorism taking place at all. There have been a number of skirmishes, we know, between military personnel across the line of control. But this is the first really serious terrorist attack on specific individuals who are tourists, pilgrims, most of them newly married as well, being deliberately shot by terrorists. I think the escalation that's taking place at the moment is, of course, relatively neutral in the sense of expelling diplomats, revoking visas, closing the border. And I hear and understand, but we haven't got this confirmed yet, that the Indus Water Treaty may be suspended, which obviously would be very serious news. It has been. We haven't had that confirmed to us in the UK yet. This evening, just about time of your show, we will be holding a vigil at the Indian High Commission. I will be representing the Conservative Party there. And I think the whole House of Commons condemns the terrorist atrocities that have taken place. I do think this is something where we've got to call out those that are responsible for sponsoring terrorism. It's quite clear that if it is this terrorist group, that the Pakistani government must ensure that all those terrorist bases along the line of control are dismantled and the terrorists dispersed. It cannot be acceptable in any shape or form that these terrorists continue to operate freely and almost with either with the direct support or indirect support of the Pakistani military. And clearly the world needs to watch this, because obviously when the last time we had a serious confrontation, it ended up with both India and Pakistan coming to the brink of war. And I think, I've already said that one way or other, the terrorist bases have got to be dismantled.
Sir, there is a sense here in India that India and Pakistan may actually be fairly close to some sort of a conflict situation. Given what we've heard Prime Minister Modi say, even today, where he said that India is going to hunt down these terrorists wherever they may be. Well, we've heard very strident remarks from Defense Minister Rajnath Singh yesterday as well, saying that India's response will come in a finite period of time. This being the case, will the United Kingdom, in your opinion, support Indian military strikes on Pakistan should they occur?
Well, I do think, obviously I speak from a personal capacity now and not from the UK government's perspective. I think the reality is this. We've got to identify who those terrorists are, who is responsible for supporting them, which particular terrorist group they come from, and if they have strong links to both the Pakistani military and the Pakistani government. If all of those come into play, and this is what we suspect to be the case, then I would call on the UK government to support India's action, military action, against those terrorists, even if it means causing a confrontation with Pakistan. No one wants to see war. I mean, I'm sure no one wants to see war, but it cannot be acceptable that terrorist outrages like this can be allowed. It does appear, I mean, it's very clear that the terrorist atrocities were particularly directed towards Hindus, and it wasn't indiscriminate firing. This was deliberate, targeted firing on Hindu pilgrims, and I think that brings it home to the challenges and problems that have taken place, and we can compare it literally to what's going on in other parts of the world right now. This morning in the Commons, we dealt with the position on the war in Ukraine. We also dealt with the civil war going on in Sudan, and I was a bit disappointed, to put it mildly, that we didn't have a Foreign Office statement on this terrorist atrocity, which in my view should have taken place. I will be calling next week for there to be a statement, or urging the Speaker to grant an urgent question in the House, so that next week, we don't know what's going to happen this weekend, but next week we will actually get to debate the issues in the UK Parliament, and I hope give our strong support to the government of India.
Sure. Mr. Blackman, let me ask you this. India has always stated that Pakistan is the epicenter of terrorism. When you ask for evidence linking these terrorists who may have been involved in this attack with the Pakistani military or government in any way, shape, or form, given the nature of the attack, given how sophisticated it is, given that they're carrying automatic rifles, which cannot be procured in this part of the world off the market in most cases, it does seem that the involvement of the Pakistani military or the ISI, which is essentially part of that, it's always been there. And therefore,
indeed, I would worry that the statement
of terrorism.
Yeah, the statements coming out of the Pakistani military and the Pakistani government yesterday seem to be inciting this terrorism as opposed to condemning it, and I think this is one of the problems here. That irrespective of whether this is a terrorist group which has strong links with the military in Pakistan or not, they've been supplied, as you quite rightly say, by some form of military operation. Now, we can all suggest it may be this country or that country, but the fact of it being so close to the illegally occupied part of Kashmir, where Pakistani forces are present, it does suggest very strongly that it is the Pakistani military that are supporting them. So they've got questions to answer as well in this regard. And as you're right, the Indian government have always pointed to Pakistan being the epicenter of terrorism, and indeed in various different times countries have had to go in and neutralize terrorists in Pakistan, and if India does the same thing, then the world should support it.
Bob Blackman, thank you very much, sir, for being with us and sharing your views. Thank you very much indeed, sir.